From our studio in Atlantic City, and tonight from the Tropicana Casino and Resort and 1994, I'm David Spatz, and coming up next, she's the original space cadet of acting. Shirley MacLaine joins me on tonight's edition of Curtain Call, and it all starts right now.
See forever, then come along with me.
And we're back at Trop World, where Shirley MacLaine joins us after a couple of years of not having been in Atlantic City. We haven't seen you here in a while.
Is it 90?
92, I think, yeah, down at resorts. And so every 2 years we get to look at you and watch you.
It's getting me so that the venues for people like me to play are less and less.
I know, and it's a sad commentary on what's going on with entertainment in America today, but we'll have to do another show on that. I got to start by it relating more of a story than asking a question. That is, and it took place right here at Trop World. I was walking through the lobby and I noticed one of the light boxes that was billboarding your appearance here, and there was a young couple, a guy and a girl, maybe mid-late 20s, and they were looking at one's pointing and saying, look, Shirley MacLaine's going to be here. The other says, well, what does she do? Yeah. And the other said, well, what do you mean, what does she do? She's an actress. What is she going to do
here
in a casino? Right. I mean, is she going to talk about her movies? And the other one says, oh, I never thought about that.
Oh, I know.
I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean,
no, it's confusing.
Yeah.
Every time I do a picture that's a hit, people get confused because particularly I'm playing all these wonderful old character parts. I love it too. But then every time a picture is a hit, they think that's what I do. Or if I'm on the stage, like if I play Broadway or the Gershwin or with Frank at Radio City or whatever, that's what they think I do for a while. And when you do that for a while, you don't do a picture. It's confusing with me.
So there's an identity.
I do too many things, so people can't fit me into a category. But this is where I was born. This is how it all began.
These are the roots. The stage is the roots. For those of you under 35 or so who don't know, you started out on Broadway.
Yeah.
In the chorus. It was the old, let me see, with Carol Haney, you went on?
In Pajama Game,
In Pajama Game, Carol. It's the old success story, you know, the understudy waits in the wings, and it really happened.
It really, honestly happened. On top of that, I was going to turn in my notice that night because I thought, well, Carol will never be out. She's a true gypsy. She would go on with a broken neck, and every now and then Gwen Verdon was out in Can-Can. And I had my notice in my pocket and was ready that night to say, I think I'll go over and be in Can-Can and understudy Gwen Verdon.
Really?
I arrived at the stage door, and there was Bob Fosse, Hal Prince, and Jerry Robbins lined up saying, where have you been? Because I was 15 minutes late for my little chorus part. They said, you're on. Carol Haney sprained her ankle. She can't work for a long time. And all I could think of was, I'm going to drop the hat in steam heat. You know, felt like a dancer.
All right, so Hal Prince and Jerome Robbins, they're all standing there at the stage where they're telling you you're going on. What's going on inside you at that moment? What are you thinking about? It's your
Well,
night,
I had
kid.
never heard my singing voice on stage before. Oh, they had given me some singing lines because I could sing and I could hit the second last row in the balcony. But I had never rehearsed. No, I'd only looked at Carol and the role from the wings. I had never felt it in my body or felt it in my face or my words, or we had no keys for me. I thought those things. Plus, I will never fit into her shoes. She had little tiny feet. She and I were the same height, but she wore a much smaller shoe than I. Fortunately, I had in my own dressing room kit some black sneakers that I had taken to the beach the day before, and I could wear those sneakers in steam heat. No, they weren't black, they were white, and they quickly had to dye them black, and the dye was still on my feet. running when I was doing the number because there was no time.
So the adrenaline must have really started
Oh,
pumping.
I hear "Hey there" today, and I get a little nauseous.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You know, the people in the show had no time to do anything presentational, but they got a long piece of paper from a stage manager's roll, and each of them signed the paper with their name and a little "wish you well" greeting. I kept that, and I sent it to my mother, and when my mother died a few years ago, I was going through her things, and I found it.
It was the first time you'd seen it?
Yeah. I didn't even know I had it.
What did you do with it?
Oh, I kept it.
God, of course.
Yeah.
All right, and then you went on to do a whole series of hooker roles that became the inspiration for a
Well, you
medley
skipped about 10 years.
I skipped 10 years. Well, we have to condense everything down into 18 minutes. But no, you did other Broadway shows.
No, after Pajama Game, I went to Hollywood. No, I didn't do Broadway shows after that. I went to Hollywood and began to work with Martin and Lewis. I witnessed the breakup. It was the last of their pictures together.
What was that like?
It was tense. It was very tense. And that's when I discovered that Dean was the funny one.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry was the scientific one, very, very funny. And I remember as a kid, he was my favorite, he and Dean. They were my favorites. They were just idols to me of timing. And then I did, well, the first film I did was for Hitchcock called The Trouble with Harry, where I dug up and buried a body every half an hour or so. It was a black comedy. And then I did Around the World in 80 Days, playing a Hindu princess. Campy, I might add.
Of course.
I don't know why Mike Todd thought I could. He went to some research library and discovered that what he thought the highest caste Hindus had fair hair and red freckles. I don't know what he got that from. That was his justification for casting me in the part. But he also wanted, he knew he was making a kind of a classic campy comedy.
Right, but that was then we can skip and say you did the hooker role.
No, then I did Matchmaker.
Right.
Then I did with Shirley Booth. That's when I fell in love with Dolly Levi. Now I'm ready to play her. I did a thing called Career with Tony Franciosa and Dean Martin. I did many pictures. I did a picture with Glenn Ford called The Sheep Man, where he christened my hat under his horse. I don't know, I can't even remember all. And then Frank saw me on a television show, because I was doing quite a bit of singing and dancing on television then. And Sinatra saw me and thought, I want that girl to play with me in Some Came Running. And that was my first of the Loose Women roles. But that was 7 or 8 pictures later.
All right, so then we get past the movies. You did the 7 or 8 movies. But there came a time when you were cast as a hooker, and one led to another, led to another.
I played a lot of hookers. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
oh,
why is that? I mean,
I don't know. Some Came Running really worked, and you know how Hollywood is. They tell you to do the same thing again.
But at least it gave you a great basis to build a piece in your nightclub act. and Michael, your road manager, tells me that is not, it's not called the Hooker Medley anymore. You have another name for it. But the first time you did it in Atlantic City, people were hysterical. They loved it. And I could tell that you liked it too.
Oh, hookers are the best parts to play, whether the feminist movement likes that or not. I mean, they just are. Of course, now I won't play hooker. I'm too old to play. This kind of hooker would never work. I could play the madam, but I'll only play the madam if she's Secretary of State at the same time, something like that. You know?
Okay. It's a concession to the women's movement, right? A high class.
No, growing wise about being economic with yourself.
You're so good. You're not doing that. Gee. But it's good to be here. Frankly, I feel right at home. This is the champagne with all the fizz. This is where all the friendship is. Gee. It's it. But it's It's good to be here. I would not miss this for the world.
You had said the last time we spoke about, we were talking about your acting career, and you were very blunt about it. You said that, and I had mentioned that some women complain that as they have gotten older, they can't play the ingenue roles, and there aren't any good roles for them to play. And you said that never really bothered you because you never felt you were the ingenue type.
No, I wasn't the beautiful, sexy type. I had less to lose than the other girls did when I got older. And besides, really, my inclination was to play older all the time. I always wanted those juicy character parts. But frankly, when you look at it, from the time I've been in my early 20s, I was playing character parts.
You've always considered yourself more of a character actor than a leading lady?
No, a leading lady character actress. You know how Marlon was never really a leading man, he was a character actor.
But he still dominated the film. And in a lot
some
of ways
people have those kinds of personalities. I don't know, too eccentric perhaps, too definitive to play a regular ingenue leading lady. Mm-hmm. Although I've done it, frankly I can't even remember them. But I love the mixture of the comedy and the drama. I've loved the definition of the character.
You've played so many wonderful roles just in the last 10, 12 years, between Terms of Endearment and Steel Magnolias and Guarding Tess most recently. And now I hear that there's going to be a sequel to Terms of Endearment.
Oh, it's a wonderful
Going
script.
for that second Oscar, are you?
I need bookends, do I? I don't know about that, but it's just a fantastic script. Bobby Harling, who wrote Steel Magnolias and Sister Act and Soap Dish, wrote it, and he really captured Aurora. Well, it's from Larry McMurtry's second novel that was the second sequel to Terms. It's called Evening Star, and it takes Aurora. She's much older, and she's been a disaster as a grandmother bringing up these children, and she, out of circumstance, gets involved with seeing a psychiatrist about 25 years younger than she in order to determine how she can do something with these grandchildren. They just don't appreciate life, they don't seem to have any fun, and they are a nuisance and a handful. And then she clamps her eyes on this psychiatrist, and he's extremely good looking, and she proceeds to have this affair with him, thereby neutralizing all of the therapy, you see. The astronaut does show up, at Jack Nicholson, who would be there, and he's now married to some dishy blonde, but very happy and loves his children, and so he and Aurora talk about age and what their relationship meant to each other, and things like that. She has her protagonist in the piece is the best friend of Emma, the daughter, who is still careening around the place in competition with Aurora. It's just a fabulous script.
It sounds like you're living it already, mentally anyway.
Well, I know that character so well.
Why? Just because you played it, or how much of you is?
Oh, there's
is
me
in
in every character.
Really?
Oh, sure. And I think every character in me, or I wouldn't have been drawn to them.
There are some people who hear you talk about your beliefs, your New Age beliefs, and they wonder, well, which Shirley is in which role?
Well, that's fine. I'm in all of them, and they're all in me. Basically, we are each a universe within ourselves, right? So all I do is go into myself and find the aspects of me that match that character. There is a great technique in Hollywood we've been using quite a while with past life regression, by the way, David. And we go into these kind of meditations and find other times and places, experiences that feels as though they're true. Who knows, but it feels as though they're true. And it does contribute greatly to the scope and the range that you have as an actor.
One of the things I've often admired about you is that comedians, satirists occasionally will take a shot at you. They'll make up a joke. They'll poke fun at Shirley MacLaine because of some of the things you believe in, and you seem to sometimes be the first one to laugh along with them. I mean, you don't seem to take offense at it. I mean,
No.
when they skewer you in Doonesbury or something.
Oh, he skewers everybody.
Yeah, right.
I mean, my goodness.
That's a badge of honor, though, isn't it?
Of course it is. I agree with that. I helped some of those guys write the Shirley MacLaine jokes.
Really?
You're sure, because if you tell a metaphysical joke, it's got to be based on something that intuitively the listener knows is real or not. Sometimes comedy writers are quite nuts, you know, and they get the logic of metaphysics off. Believe it or not, there's a logic to it. So if they don't tell a joke with the right structure, there won't be a laugh. I hate a Shirley MacLaine joke to be told and not get a laugh, you know, so I help them.
That's wild. When will you do Terms of Endearment?
Next spring sometime.
And Jack Nicholson will do it, and you'll be there. Oh, so it's going to be a reunion.
Yeah.
Have you done sequels to any of your other? This is the first time.
Yeah.
Are you apprehensive about it at all?
I am a bit, because people would say, well, how can you do it any better than the first one? But this is a different story. 20 years later, she's a little bit different. The characters in her life are different. The issues are different. Yes, I'm a little concerned, but when something was as good as that was, I think it's healthy to be concerned.
But so good that you were nominated for an Academy Award, you won an Academy Award. Is that going to be in the back of your mind as you're
Oscar
preparing
should
for
never
this?
be in the back of your mind, because, you know, by projecting into the future like that, you can really mess up and limit the present. No, don't do that. I won't do that.
Before we wrap up, let's go back to dancing, back to the live theater, which is what you love so much. You really do.
No, I
Otherwise,
truly love it.
You wouldn't be doing it at this stage of,
I don't
of your
need this
career.
in my life.
Right. I was going to say, you don't, but you,
But I do need it.
you do need it, though.
I need the audience. It's like Al Pacino or Jessica or Glenn Close, all these people will go back to the stage and do a play, or Glenn doing Sunset, etc.
Right.
I have to go back and do my show. I would like to do a Broadway show one day that has a wonderful drama and comedy and music to it that could be a movie. But to do something, I prefer to do my one-woman show because I can change it, I can talk to the audience, which I do, I make jokes and go down and mess with them, and I can change it, I can intersperse new numbers or whatever I want.
And yet 4 years ago, as you were rehearsing to go out on tour, you had a problem with your torn ligament?
Yeah, I tore a ligament and a cruciate and a meniscus.
And they had to do arthroscopic surgery. And the doctor said, forget about dancing again, and 50% chance that you'll walk. And
No,
yet
it was
what?
very
It
discouraging.
was like 6-8 weeks later, you went out and said, hello, here I am.
Yeah.
And you did it.
I was careful, and I wore a brace on my knee for a while, and then I learned to choreograph my life. I mean, I wouldn't dream of running on a rain-slicked street to catch a cab. No. And airports are difficult because people surprise you when you turn around, and I can wrench it. But you know, the most predictable terrain I have in my life is my stage, because the guys are very careful to clean it off. One little dropped screw on a stage, though, can be devastating to me.
There goes half of a career.
That, but also it's very frightening to me, and I truly am, I guess, healthily scared of what could happen to my right knee.
So you gotta
But
have
I
a-
never wear my brace anymore, and I'm very comfortable with it. To do my exercises every day. It's another reason I continue to do this live work. It keeps me young and healthy, and it's necessary that I do my
Well, you have to stay young.
rehab.
You have a brand new niece,
Yes, isn't that great?
Auntie Shirley. That must be a
Auntie
kick.
Shirley.
That must be a kick.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have bopping around kids in your life. It's so wonderful.
How old's the baby now?
Well, that one, Kathleen
right?
is 2.5, almost 3, and the baby boy, Ben, is, he's only about 2 months old.
Wow.
So I'm still very involved with Kathleen. I don't know what to do with the boy. What do you do with them? Tear up frogs or you know?
Well, I have one who's 14, and I'll be honest with you, I still don't know. I take
I've been around
fishing.
girls
I
all
do-
my life.
I do guy stuff. My wife does the thing with our daughter, and I do the stuff with the son. Once in a while, we switch.
Well, yeah, don't you think your daughter should have a little
Oh,
time with you?
yeah, no, she does, and usually it's Well, Mom doesn't do it that way, so.
Well, I can't take a little criticism there. Huh?
Well, I can.
Little
but
feminist
I got-
perspective on things.
Oh, and with that, we've reached the end of our
Interview.
Sure, yeah.
This is the feminine perspective on things.
I really appreciate spending some time with you. It was really
Thank you.
wonderful. Continued success.
Thank you.
See you back in Atlantic City next time.
Okay.
Hello, my darling. Can you see